we often sort of go through a transition, or Chris and I have talked about this, that from high school to college, and it doesn't happen necessarily right away, but somewhere along the line, your freshman year, sophomore year, something, you realize the strategies I had in high school or the way I approached high school, either some aspect of it is not working. So there's sort of often there's a transition of your thinking, kind of go, aha, I figured out what it means to be a college student and how to make this work. And I was just going to see, is that an accurate way to think about it? Did you go through that kind of transition, and then what helped that click, or what was it that clicked for you guys? And if anybody wants to try to tackle that.
My first experience with that was with athletics, because of the extreme limitations it puts on your schedule to be both a student and an athlete. And I feel like that's the reason that a lot of people have trouble maintaining good grades while being an athlete at universities. A lot of times I was forced to do things to the last minute, and that really hampered me in my career as a student. So what I really had to learn to really tackle things in little increments. Otherwise I would end up doing everything the night before because I'd be busy with practice or workouts or something every day, and there's always an excuse not to do it with athletics because you're tired or for whatever reason. So really time management becomes one of the most crucial skills that you can develop as a student. So I mean, definitely the first thing I can recommend is getting a calendar, start writing things down, start scheduling things, really actually try to get those started on things ahead of time. But I mean, I feel like no students can just come out of the box doing that. You kind of have to go through that panic mode of, I have a 15-page paper due tomorrow. What am I going to do? Take much caffeine and study all night experience, and then you realize, like, wow, if I'm going to get through this and do well at all, I really have to plan ahead and get started ahead of time.
So if there is that crisis panic,
you have to go through that before.
You have to pull that. It's almost that pull the all-nighter. It has that rite of passage almost, that all-nighter. So that's interesting. All right, guys. Anybody else want to try to tackle that question? Add something new?
I would just piggyback off what he said about like learning how to manage your time well. I learned that studying and cramming the night before, as I did in high school, was not going to help in college. So learning how to just figure out where and when to start planning for different classes was very crucial. And it doesn't happen overnight. Like, it takes a while to learn how you work best and how for different classes how that works best, writing papers and everything like that. So it's definitely a process that I had to learn, and I would say that I finally got into that groove like my second semester, my sophomore year.
Oh, okay.
So it took like a year and a half for me to learn that.
And where do you like to study?
I like to study in my room.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can't.
Are you on campus in the dorm, or?
No, I live off campus.
Off campus, so quiet place, sort of shut off from other stimulus, so to speak.
Yeah, because if I try to study in groups or with other friends or whatever, I'll just end up talking and I get distracted. Or
But social time.
Yeah.
Right. I understand.
So by myself is the best area.
Okay,
That's
excellent.
a very good point to really work on that area of study. I found that place of study for most students to find that place where you work best. Because I find if I'm in my room by myself, I'm on YouTube, and I cannot focus on things if I'm not in the library or if I'm in my own private space. I'm doing things, I get distracted really easily.
Yeah, because it's your thing. It's
right.
your things to do.
I have stuff to do. There's an Xbox in the corner. I can't, that kind of deal. So just really, you have to really explore yourself and see where you're best. And it takes a while to do that. You just have to experiment and see what works.
For you as an individual, it's right. It doesn't work for everyone, but for me it was the library. That was I go to the same carrel on the same floor, and it was always open, so I didn't have any problems. But indeed, you do have to find that.
Do you find that there are actually seniors that are still struggling with that? I mean, I have you found what works for you, but I don't know if everybody always does. Do you think that maybe if they were introduced, we were talking the other day, Dr. Carr and I were, about maybe having a time where freshmen come check in to where they're kind of, I don't want to say forced, but have the opportunity to try a different environment. Would that have maybe helped you? It might not work for everybody. You know, library might not work for everybody, but do you think that that would help someone, or do you think it's just, I mean, you have seniors, though, that still aren't sure where the best place for them is to study. I don't know. I
sort of feel like it's something you have to figure out
for yourself. But some people still don't figure it out. So I don't know. I'm not just.
Yeah, I agree. You need to sit down and figure it out yourself, because not everybody's schedules are the same.
Right.
And I'm coming from a slightly non-traditional experience where I had to work throughout the 4 years. And so for me it was, when can I put this time into study and still be highly competitive? So, and it wasn't always the library, because a lot of times my study time was 2 a.m. in the morning.
Wow, okay.
So that is definitely where you need to sit down and you need to make it work yourself.
Right, you need to be able to ignore the Xbox, ignore the YouTube, and just focus on what you need to do.
And also, don't take classes lightly. It's always better to overdo studying than to be trying to make up for it for the rest of the semester, because I remember doing that my freshman year, of just constantly like being on the verge of an A and B average and having to just kill myself at the end of the semester, where after previous semesters, or I'm sorry, following semesters, I was able to go ahead and knock it out. So you have that leadway where, hey, I need a 60 on this final, I can go to bed tonight.
Right. That's a good feeling, right? So you knock it out of the park early in the semester, establish that.
Because you can always study too much for something, and that's okay. It's a great feeling to walk in and be like, oh, I really did not need to study for that test as much as I did. But it's a terrible feeling to walk in and not know what's going on. So
time management, getting to start early, and don't take a class lightly, kind of
from the very beginning.
Start at the very beginning, take it seriously, and establish a good grade, and if you need to, then as finals and papers and other things are due at the end of the semester, you may be able to slack off in a certain class, or at least some of the pressure's off.
At least it's the pressure. You may not be able to slack off, but there's no pressure. So that's a great feeling.
There you go. Right, since we just finished finals, right, you guys just went through that, having to cram.
Social aspect, your first semester freshman year, what type of effect does that have on a new student? And I'm not trying to get too personal, do you find that there are a lot of parties? Do you find that, does that affect your time management? I guess the social aspect, how much does that affect it? I mean, as a student, you might say, I'm working, I'm studying, and that's what I'm doing. I'm playing sports, and that's it. I don't have time for anything else. Or do you have that pull of people wanting to go out and do fun stuff, or go to a party, or whatever?
You really need a balance, because for me, for my freshman year, I was the athlete. I was athletics and studies, and I'm not going to party or go out and have fun. I'm going to concentrate, and I really regret that decision, because I think I missed out on a lot of experiences that I wish I had, and that a lot of college students get. But at the same time, you have people that kind of go, way on the other side of the spectrum, go party all the time, tank their GPA their first semester, and really have to work uphill the rest of their college career. So you really need to find that kind of balance, and that's where time management comes in. Finding one solution for the weird schedule is like a coffee house that's open all night to go study. And I feel like it's good to have a social life. It's healthy, but at the same time, you just got to have that proper balance. You can't go too far on either side.
Thank you.